I'm going to tell you something that might challenge what you've always believed. Guilt doesn't work the way it used to, not in modern relationships, not with emotionally aware men, and definitely not in the long run, because something has shifted, quietly, gradually, but powerfully. Men today are responding differently, and for a lot of women, that feels confusing, frustrating, even a little unsettling, because the old patterns, the emotional triggers that once got a reaction, are no longer creating the same effect. And the question becomes, why? What changed? And more importantly, if guilt doesn't work anymore, what actually does? Let's start with something real. Before we dive deeper, a quick message. If you've been learning from my videos and you want to support this work, you can subscribe to me on Facebook with a paid membership, send stars, or join my YouTube channel's paid community. Your support helps me create more powerful content for you, and I truly appreciate every bit of it. All right, now let's continue. Guilt used to create compliance. If a man felt like he disappointed you, hurt you, or let you down, he would try to fix it. Quickly, emotionally, sometimes impulsively. But here's the shift. Many men today have become more aware of emotional patterns. They've learned to recognize when they're being pushed into reacting instead of choosing how they respond. And that awareness, it changes everything. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because this isn't about men not caring. It's about men responding differently to pressure. When someone feels emotionally pushed, they don't always move closer. Sometimes they pull away, not out of indifference, but out of self-protection. Now listen carefully to this, because this is where most people misunderstand the situation. Guilt creates pressure, and pressure creates resistance. So instead of building connection, it often creates distance. Now let's go deeper, because this isn't just about men, it's about human psychology. When someone feels like they have to do something emotionally, it removes the sense of choice. And when choice disappears, so does genuine desire. Now, here's the part most people don't talk about. Guilt can create short-term results, but long-term disconnection. Because over time, it starts to feel like emotional weight, like something they have to carry, instead of something they choose to engage with. Now, let's pause for a second, because the next part is where things really shift. If guilt doesn't create attraction or connection anymore, what does? The answer is simple, but not easy. Emotional clarity. When you communicate clearly, without pressure, without blame, it creates space. And in that space, people respond differently, because now they're choosing to engage, not reacting to pressure. Now, here's something even more powerful: emotional self-control. When you can express how you feel without overwhelming the other person, without turning it into conflict, without trying to force a reaction, it changes how you're perceived completely. And this is where attraction grows, not in emotional intensity, but in emotional stability. Now, let's go deeper again, because this next part is often overlooked: respect. Not demanded, not forced, but demonstrated. When you respect yourself, your time, your energy, your boundaries, others feel it, and they respond to it naturally. Now, here's the truth most people avoid. You can't make someone feel something. You can influence, you can communicate, but you can't control. And the moment you try to control through guilt, you lose something important: authenticity. Now imagine this shift. Instead of saying, "You never do this for me," you say, "I feel disconnected when this happens." Same situation, different energy. One creates pressure, the other creates understanding. Now here's where things become powerful. Consistency. Not emotional spikes, not dramatic reactions, but steady, grounded presence. Because consistency builds trust, and trust creates connection. Now listen to this carefully, because this is where many relationships either grow or break. When someone feels emotionally safe with you, they open up. When they feel pressured, they close off. So if guilt doesn't work anymore, it's not a loss, it's an evolution, a shift toward healthier communication, stronger boundaries, more authentic connection. Now, let's go even further, because understanding that guilt doesn't work is only the beginning. The deeper question is, why did we rely on it in the first place? And the answer is worth sitting with. Guilt was never really about connection. It was about control. Not always conscious control, not always malicious, but control nonetheless. The underlying belief was simple. If I can make him feel bad enough, he'll change, he'll come back, he'll give me what I need. And for a while, it worked, because many men hadn't yet developed the emotional vocabulary to recognize what was happening. They felt the discomfort, and they responded to it, not out of love, not out of genuine desire, but out of the need to make the discomfort stop. And here's the painful truth about that. Behavior driven by guilt never produces the outcome you actually want, because what you want, underneath the frustration, underneath the pressure, is to feel chosen, to feel genuinely wanted, to feel like someone is showing up because they want to, not because they feel they have no choice. And guilt can never give you that. Even when it works in the short term, you can feel the difference. The effort feels hollow. The attention feels forced. The connection feels like a transaction. And that hollowness is worse than the absence itself. So here's the real shift that needs to happen, not just in tactics, in belief. The belief that love can be manufactured through pressure has to be replaced by something more honest. The belief that real connection only comes from real choice. And real choice can only exist in an environment where there's no pressure to comply. Now let's talk about why emotionally aware men respond to guilt differently, because this is something a lot of people genuinely don't understand. It's not that they don't care. It's not that they've become cold. It's not that they're emotionally unavailable. It's that they've done enough inner work to recognize the difference between responding and reacting. Reacting is automatic. Someone applies pressure and you move, not because you chose to, but because the discomfort demanded it. Responding is different. You feel the pressure, you acknowledge it, and then you ask yourself, is this something I genuinely want to engage with, or is this something I'm being pushed into? And when the answer is the latter, the grounded man doesn't comply. He creates space, not to punish, not to be cruel, but because he's learned that reacting from discomfort never leads anywhere good. And for the person applying the guilt, that space feels like rejection. It feels like he doesn't care. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is that he's waiting for something real. He's waiting for a conversation that doesn't come with emotional strings attached. He's waiting for you to express what you actually feel without the manipulation wrapped around it. And when that happens, when the pressure drops and the honesty arrives, he comes forward every time. Now, let's talk about what actually works. And this isn't a list of techniques. It's a complete shift in approach. The first thing that works is directness. Simple, clean, honest directness. Not, I guess you just don't care about me anymore. But, I've been feeling distant from you lately, and I want to understand why. One is a guilt trap. The other is an open door. And the difference in how he receives those two things is profound, because the first one puts him on trial. And when someone feels accused, they defend, they shut down, they withdraw. But the second one invites him in. It says, I'm not attacking you, I'm reaching for you. And that reaching, that genuine, vulnerable, non-pressured reaching is one of the most powerful things you can do, because it's rare. Most conflict comes wrapped in accusation. The person who can express pain without turning it into an attack creates a completely different dynamic. The second thing that works is silence. Real silence. Not the punishing kind, not the cold shoulder designed to make him worry, but the genuine kind. The kind that comes from being grounded enough in yourself, that you don't need to fill every moment with emotional output. When you're comfortable in your own space, when you have your own life, your own sense of peace, that silence becomes magnetic because it communicates something rare. It says, I don't need you to complete me. I want you, but I don't need you. And that distinction changes everything because need creates pressure, want creates desire, and desire is what you actually want him to feel. The third thing that works is self-respect. Visible, consistent, uncompromising self-respect. Because here's something most people don't realize. How you treat yourself teaches people how to treat you. When you accept behavior that doesn't align with your standards and then use guilt to try to correct it later, you create a cycle. A cycle where the behavior continues, and the guilt escalates, and the connection erodes. But when you hold your standard from the beginning, when you communicate clearly what you need, and then honor that by stepping back when it's not met, something different happens. He sees that you mean what you say, and people rise to meet standards that are held with calm consistency, not standards that are announced dramatically, not standards enforced through emotional pressure, but standards that are quietly, unmistakably lived. Now here's something that ties all of this together. The shift from guilt to clarity isn't just about changing what you say. It's about changing what you believe you deserve. Because women who rely on guilt often don't fully believe they can get what they want directly. They don't fully trust that expressing a genuine need will be met with a genuine response. So they use pressure as a safety net. If I make him feel bad enough, at least something will happen. But that belief, that fear underneath the behavior is what needs to change. Because you can ask for what you need directly. You can express how you feel without weaponizing it. You can hold standards without manufactured drama. And when you do that, the right person responds. Not out of guilt, not out of pressure, but out of genuine care. And the wrong person reveals himself, quietly, without you having to do anything except be honest. That's the real power of letting go of guilt as a tool. It doesn't just change the dynamic with him, it changes the dynamic with yourself, because you stop being someone who manages others' emotions and start being someone who expresses your own, clearly, calmly, without apology. And that woman, that version of you, is far more compelling than any guilt trip ever could be. So if guilt doesn't work anymore, it's not a problem to solve. It's an invitation to communicate in a way that's more honest, more direct, more aligned with what you actually want, which is real connection. Not compliance, not performance, but someone who shows up because they genuinely want to be there. That's worth more than anything guilt could ever produce. And it starts with believing you deserve to ask for it directly. The goal isn't to control behavior, it's to create connection. And connection doesn't grow through pressure. It grows through understanding, through honesty, through two people who feel safe enough to say what they actually mean. If this gave you a new perspective, if something shifted that hadn't before, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and go watch the next one, because we're only getting deeper from here. The people who understand this don't just have better relationships, they become better communicators, better partners, more grounded versions of themselves, and that changes everything. One truth at a time.